Like and subscribe. Comment below for more stories on this YouTube channel.
The scream shattered the still night, slicing through the mist that had settled over Igbala Ridge. Nyara froze mid-step, heart pounding, listening as the sound echoed off the red hills. She had only come to deliver a message to her uncle, but now every instinct screamed at her to run. From the darkness, a figure emerged, moving with a confidence that made her skin crawl. It was Dazuri. The moonlight caught his smile, wide and perfect, and the hairs on her neck stood. Something about him felt wrong, though everyone else in the village seemed to trust him implicitly. Dazuri's eyes caught hers, and for a moment the charm that had taken so many of Igbala Ridge's women seemed ready to ensnare her. But Nyara did not flinch. "Good evening, Dazuri," she said softly, keeping her voice steady. "I hope you're not the cause of that scream."
Have you grown fond of
He
the
tilted
village
his
yet?
head, laughter
Tell
hiding
me,
in the corners of his
have you
smile.
grown fond of the
The
village
scream?
yet?
Oh, Nyara, that is unfortunate, but not from me. Tell me, have you grown
Visiting,
fond of the
yes,
village yet?
but perhaps
"I'm only
staying
visiting my uncle,"
could
she
be.
said
You've
carefully,
lived in so
gripping her
much.
satchel closer.
Never shy
"I don't mean to intrude."
You have a certain
He stepped
calm
closer,
about the
his
idol.
presence
She would not
suffocating
become
yet
another
oddly
whispered story
magnetic.
under the palm trees.
Visiting, yes, but perhaps staying could be enjoyable. You have a certain calm about you, unlike the others. They all panic at the first shadow. Nyara forced a small smile, but her mind raced. She had heard of the deaths, girls disappearing or found lifeless with strange bite marks. The villagers whispered, always fearful, always glancing at Dazuri without truly knowing why. Her jaw tightened. She would not become another story whispered under the palm trees. The next morning, the village awoke to news that another girl had been found near the river, her body pale, lips slightly parted, 2 precise puncture wounds at the neck. Mothers clutched their daughters and whispered warnings.
Never go alone
be
near the
alone
forest.
near the
Do you hear me?
forest." Yet Dazuri walked freely, even helping repair a broken well, laughing and joking, earning nods and smiles from the villagers. It infuriated Nyara that such evil could wear such a friendly face. She had a plan. Months ago, her closest friend, Lemai, had fallen victim to a similar death in another village. Lemai had spoken in fading breaths about a man, tall and charming, whose smile had captivated her. She had begged Nyara to find the truth. Nyara had traveled relentlessly, following whispers of another death, until she arrived here, at Igbala Ridge. Dazuri matched every detail. She had to confirm it. She had to stop him. Days passed, and Nyara observed quietly. Dazuri would often linger near the well where women fetched water, offering to carry buckets or help repair containers. He would talk in low tones, leaning just slightly closer than necessary, his charm drawing giggles and blushes from the villagers' daughters. Nyara watched, calculating. His pattern was clear. His eyes scanned each girl, a faint gleam in the corner before he offered a gentle question, always about desire, always testing, always teasing. Then came the whistle, soft but eerie, summoning the silent terror that followed him like a shadow. One afternoon, Dazuri approached Nyara at the riverbank, where she had gone to fill her water jug. "May I help?" he asked, voice smooth, body relaxed. "I wouldn't want someone like you to struggle with such a heavy load." Nyara glanced at the bucket, then up at him. "Thank you," she said politely, keeping her tone neutral. She felt the pull of his charm, the subtle weight of his gaze, but she did not falter. As they walked together, Dazuri spoke. "You are different, Nyara. You do not react as they do. Most would have smiled or at least looked away, but not you. Why?" She held his gaze steady. "Perhaps I am not easily impressed, or perhaps I see more than what is shown on the surface." A flicker of frustration crossed his face before a smile returned, sharper this time. "Intriguing. I like a challenge. You will allow me to learn more about you." Nyara's lips pressed together. She could feel the eyes of the village girls on them, curious and hopeful. She forced her voice into calmness, hiding her fear. I am not a puzzle for anyone to solve, Dazuri. I have my own reasons for being here. And she did. The silver whistle was hidden in her satchel. The instructions of the seer in Iron Cliff echoed in her mind. Let him believe he has won. Let him lower his guard. Only then will the serpent obey another voice. Even as she reminded herself of the plan, Dazuri's attention never wavered. Over the following days, he tried everything. A joke at the market, a helping hand, casual conversation near the fire pit. Each attempt met Nyara's unwavering calm. One evening, he cornered her as she left her uncle's home. Do you truly resist me, Nyara, or is it all pretense? I find pretense dull. Nyara's heart beat rapidly, but she maintained her composure. I resist nothing that is good, Dazuri, but I will not entertain anything dangerous. He laughed softly, a sound meant to charm, to disarm, but she felt only caution. Dangerous? You think I am dangerous? You wear it in your eyes, she said, and I have seen too much to be fooled by smiles alone. For a moment, silence fell. The wind rustled the palm leaves, and somewhere a rooster crowed. Dazuri studied her, weighing, measuring, testing. Then, slowly, he backed away. Very well, he said, his voice low and smooth. Perhaps patience will suit you. And me. Nyara exhaled silently, tension easing for just a moment. She had survived the first encounter without revealing her hand, but she knew the danger was far from over. Each day he grew bolder, and each day she had to maintain the delicate balance between intrigue and caution. She practiced her grip on the whistle, feeling its cold metal, imagining the piercing sound that could bend the serpent to her will. Meanwhile, the village whispered of the new visitor, the calm woman who neither flinched nor smiled in response to Dazuri. Mothers spoke of her caution, children of her beauty. And Dazuri watched, frustrated and fascinated, more obsessed with her resistance than he had ever been with anyone. Nyara spent nights replaying Lemai's last words. Tall man, smile, danger, beware the tune. She had studied every detail, Dazuri's gait, his laugh, the rhythm of his whistle. Everything pointed to him. She spoke quietly to herself as she prepared for what was coming. I will not fail you, Lemai. Not here, not now. By the 7th night of her stay, Dazuri finally invited her to his hut, under the guise of repairing a roof. Nyara agreed, knowing the seer's words. He must believe he has won. As she stepped inside, the hut smelled of wood smoke and dust, the light dimmed to near shadows. Dazuri's eyes gleamed in the firelight. I am glad you came, he said. Sit. Rest. Let us talk. Nyara lowered herself onto a stool, her satchel by her side, hands brushing the metal of the whistle. She forced a small smile, mimicking the expressions of other women who had succumbed. Dazuri's jaw tightened, excitement hidden behind practiced charm. I have always been curious, he murmured, leaning slightly closer. Tell me, Nyara, what do you see in me? Nyara tilted her head, her voice soft, calculated. I see someone capable of great things, and someone hiding even greater danger. Dazuri's eyes darkened briefly, then a chuckle escaped him. Perhaps, perhaps, but is curiosity always wise? Sometimes courage outweighs curiosity, she said, her hand brushing the whistle subtly. A tense silence followed, filled only by the crackle of fire. Nyara felt the weight of the moment, the culmination of days of careful observation, patience and planning. She had to remain calm. One false move, and the village would lose another daughter. Suddenly, a commotion outside drew their attention. Villagers ran past the hut, shouting. Nyara knew that fear had already gripped Igbala Ridge again, yet she stayed seated, her gaze locked on Dazuri, the danger incarnate in human form. She whispered under her breath, Soon. Very soon. And with that, the stage was set for the confrontation that would determine the fate of the village, the revenge for Lamai, and the end of the serpent's reign. The night air hung heavy as Nyara stepped into Dazuri's hut again, pretending to relax, pretending to trust. Inside, he moved closer, deliberately, brushing past her just slightly as if to test her nerves. She felt her pulse quicken, but held her calm. Every step, every glance, every word was a part of the plan. Patience, the seer had said. Let him believe he has won. You are quiet tonight, Dazuri murmured, his voice low and hypnotic. I would think someone as poised as you would have stories to tell, or secrets to hide. Nyara smiled faintly. Perhaps I do, but some stories are not for everyone, and some secrets are dangerous to share. Dazuri's eyes gleamed with amusement. Dangerous? Now, that catches my attention. Do you mean that for me or for yourself? For both, she said calmly. She could feel the subtle shift in his stance, the predator measuring the prey. But she was no prey tonight. He leaned back slightly, his hands gripping the edge of the table, his grin widening. You play games, Nyara. I do enjoy a challenge, though I warn you I am not easily defeated. Nyara's hand brushed her satchel, fingers closing briefly around the silver whistle hidden inside. Defeat is relative, Dazuri. Sometimes the greatest victory is surviving a battle without showing your hand. A flicker of something, frustration, perhaps admiration, crossed his features. He chuckled almost reluctantly. You are unlike the others. The others, they fall so easily. You resist, you taunt, and it drives me wild. The words made her stomach twist, but she did not flinch. Instead, she leaned slightly forward. Then let us see who wins this battle of patience, shall we? Dazuri's laugh was low, dangerous, carrying a warmth that could make any listener feel charmed. Yet every sound was a reminder of the fear he had spread across the village. Nyara could almost feel the serpent coiled within him, waiting, listening, ready to strike at the slightest provocation. The following days were a delicate dance. Dazuri tried to entice her with gentle touches and whispered compliments, mimicking the charm that had captured so many others. Your eyes are like the river, he murmured one afternoon as they repaired the broken fence together. Clear, deep, impossible to ignore. Nyara kept her eyes down, focusing on the wooden posts. I'm here to help with the work, Dazuri. Flattery won't make the task lighter. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. But it can make the burden of company more enjoyable. Nyara's heart raced, but she replied firmly, Company is not a burden I cannot bear, but I will not be manipulated. It was during these moments that the villagers whispered. They watched the pair from a distance, noticing how Nyara never blushed, never laughed nervously, never seemed afraid. Mothers told their daughters to observe her. Perhaps there was hope, they murmured. Perhaps someone could resist Dazuri. At night, Nyara reviewed her plan silently in the hut she stayed at with her uncle. She whispered to herself, You will not take another soul, Dazuri. Not tonight. Not ever. Her fingers closed around the cold metal of the whistle, imagining the sharp, piercing sound that could bend the serpent to her will. Meanwhile, Dazuri's obsession grew. He spoke more freely, sometimes dangerously close to revealing his frustration. Why are you so resistant? He asked one evening, voice soft, almost pleading. I have never met anyone like you. They all surrender, but you challenge me. Nyara held his gaze steadily. Because I have learned that appearances deceive. What looks harmless can hide death. I have seen too much to be fooled. Dazuri frowned slightly, caught off guard by her insight. And yet you continue to come here. You could leave, go back to safety. I came for a reason, she said. I will not abandon it. The tension between them thickened each day. Dazuri tried a new tactic. kindness. He brought her water from the well, carried heavy bundles for her, and spoke softly about his past, about dreams and hopes. "I am not all shadows," he said one afternoon. "I have warmth too." Nyara listened carefully, her mind racing. She pretended to soften, allowing him a false sense of victory. Every word, every action she allowed, every glance she returned was part of the plan. She whispered under her breath, "Soon, very soon." One evening, under the dim light of the hut's fire, Dazuri finally made a bold move. He asked her to sit closer, to let him repair a hole in the roof above her head. "Sit here," he said softly. "It will be faster, easier." Nyara obeyed carefully, positioning herself where he could lean near without realizing the advantage it gave her. His hands brushed the wood just a little too close to hers. The air was thick with unspoken danger. "You trust me," he said, almost as an observation, not a question. "Why do you trust me so easily when all others fear me?" "I do not trust you," Nyara replied calmly. "I am simply aware of my surroundings." Dazuri tilted his head, studying her. "You are clever," he said, voice low. "I admire cleverness, though I prefer compliance." Nyara smiled faintly. "Compliance does not always equal safety, Dazuri. Sometimes defiance is the wiser path." He chuckled almost darkly. "You speak boldly for someone who is clearly aware of danger. Perhaps that is why I am drawn to you." Nyara's heart raced, but she did not show it. "Drawn to me for the wrong reasons will only end badly," she said softly. Dazuri's hand hovered over her arm, then retracted. His gaze lingered on her face. "You will test me endlessly," he whispered, "and I will not break. But I find myself enjoying the struggle." And there it was, the confession she had been waiting for. His obsession had shifted from conquest to fascination. That fascination would be his weakness. Over the next few nights, she prepared meticulously. She observed the rhythm of his whistle, the way he summoned the serpent with a soft, haunting tune that only she had ever heard. She whispered again to herself, "Tonight, it ends." Her fingers closed around the silver whistle in her satchel. It was cold, smooth, a promise of retribution. On the seventh night, she allowed herself to smile faintly, pretending to relax near the fire in Dazuri's hut. "It is nice to see you finally unwind," he murmured, voice low, almost hypnotic. "You make it seem easy to trust me." "I trust no one blindly," Nyara said, keeping her eyes on his every movement. "And you, Dazuri, will learn that soon enough." He laughed softly, leaning closer, humming the tune that had killed before. The serpent inside him stirred, a shadow coiled with lethal intent. Nyara's fingers closed firmly on the whistle. "Now," she thought, "now it listens to me." Dazuri's eyes gleamed with anticipation, believing he had won. He leaned even closer, whispering the riddle of desire and danger. Nyara's fingers tightened around the whistle. She raised it subtly, bringing it to her lips, and blew. The sound cut through the air, sharp and piercing. The serpent, coiled in lethal readiness, paused, confused. Its head turned toward the new sound, obeying the unseen command. Dazuri's eyes widened. The hunter had become the hunted. The creature twisted violently, disoriented by the whistle's power. It coiled, then struck, not at Nyara, but at Dazuri. He screamed for the first time, terror overtaking charm. The venom he had used to terrorize the village now took him, swift and unforgiving. Nyara stepped back, heart racing, watching as the life drained from his eyes. She felt the weight of months of planning, the justice for Lamai, the relief for Igbala Ridge. The nightmare that had haunted the village for so long was finally over. Outside, villagers began to gather, hearing the commotion, unsure what to expect. Mothers clutched their daughters, ready to protect them, yet unsure of what had truly happened inside the hut. Nyara emerged carefully, holding the whistle in her hand, her expression calm but resolute. "This is over," she said softly, her voice carrying to the crowd. "The danger that has haunted you is gone. You are safe." The villagers stared, disbelief mingled with relief. Some whispered prayers, others wept quietly. They had admired Dazuri for so long, never suspecting the darkness beneath his charm. Now the truth was laid bare. Nyara looked at the faces around her, feeling the weight of what had been accomplished. "Remember this night," she said, "and let it teach you that appearances can deceive, that true danger may hide behind the most beautiful smile." And for a moment the village of Igbala Ridge breathed freely again. The long shadow of fear lifted, replaced by the quiet knowledge that vigilance and courage had finally prevailed. The dawn broke over Igbala Ridge with a quiet calm that felt almost unnatural after the terror that had gripped the village for so long. Nyara stepped out of Dazuri's hut, the silver whistle still cool in her hand, and looked across the red hills. For the first time in months, the village seemed safe. Mothers whispered in hushed tones to their children, and the women who had once fallen under Dazuri's charm stared in disbelief at the empty hut, trying to reconcile the man they had admired with the monster he truly was. She let herself exhale, but only for a moment. The battle had been won, yes, but the weight of it pressed on her. Lemai's memory filled her mind, the last desperate words of her friend, the trust she had placed in Nyara to find justice. "It is done, Lemai," she whispered, her voice catching in the morning air. "You are safe now. You can rest." The villagers began to emerge, drawn by curiosity and fear, until Elder Kanu stepped forward. His face was grave, a mixture of relief and sorrow. "Nyara, what happened? How did you—" She held up the whistle, letting the sunlight glint off its silver surface. "This," she said softly, "ended the curse. Dazuri is no longer a threat. The serpent that haunted you now answers to justice." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A woman stepped forward, tears in her eyes. He was so charming. We never suspected—" Nyara nodded, understanding their shock. "Charm can hide the darkest of secrets," she said gently. "But courage, vigilance, and knowledge can uncover them. Remember this and protect each other. Do not be swayed by appearances alone." Elder Kanu bowed his head, gratitude in his eyes. "You have saved us all, Nyara. Igbala Ridge owes you more than words can say." Nyara allowed herself a small, quiet smile. She had no desire for praise. Her mission had been justice, and that had been achieved. Still, seeing the villagers' relief gave her a sense of closure she had not realized she needed. Over the following days, the village slowly returned to its rhythm. The market buzzed again. Children ran freely along the paths, and mothers allowed their daughters to fetch water without fear. Yet the story of Dazuri became a cautionary tale, whispered from one generation to the next. Mothers would warn, "Beware the smile that asks nothing but hides everything." Fathers would nod gravely, recalling the charm that concealed deadly intent. The young women nodded, eyes wide, absorbing every word. "We will remember," one of them said softly. Nyara smiled faintly. "Good. That is all I ask." As she walked toward the hills, she reflected on the events that had unfolded. Months of planning, careful observation, and unwavering determination had led her to this moment. Dazuri had underestimated her, as he did so many others. And now the serpent that had taken so many lives served as a reminder of how power can be twisted when hidden behind charm and deceit. Her mind wandered back to Lemai. She wished her friend could have seen this victory, could have felt the relief that justice had been served. "I hope you can rest in peace now," she whispered, her voice carried away by the morning wind. Nyara's journey was not yet over. Across the land there were still mysteries, still dangers hidden behind smiles and shadows. But for now, she had given Igbala Ridge its peace, and that was enough. She paused at the edge of the village, looking back one final time. The sun glinted off the red hills, and the scent of the river filled her senses. She lifted the whistle slightly, a silent promise to herself that she would continue her mission wherever injustice lingered. And then she turned, walking toward the horizon, leaving behind the village that had learned a hard lesson in courage, vigilance, and the truth behind appearances. As the screen fades, remember, friends, if you enjoyed this story and want to hear more chilling tales of courage and justice, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment below telling us what part shocked you the most. Your support helps us bring more stories to life. The legend of Dazuri would not fade. Mothers would still whisper warnings, children would still listen, and Nyara's bravery would be remembered as a beacon of hope. But it was also a reminder, even the most charming smiles could hide the darkest intentions. Knowledge, courage, and vigilance were the only shields against such deceit. As Nyara disappeared into the morning light, a hush fell over the villagers. They had survived the impossible. They had witnessed the triumph of a single brave soul against relentless evil. And in that victory, they found the strength to rebuild not only their village, but their trust in one another. Elder Kanu spoke softly to the gathering crowd. Do not forget her lesson. Teach it to your children. Let it live in your hearts. Nyara paused briefly on the hilltop, taking in the village one last time. She whispered to herself, justice can be patient, but it always arrives. With that, she disappeared from view, leaving Igbala Ridge forever changed, a village that had seen evil face its reckoning, a community that had learned the power of courage, and a story that would be told for generations. And friends, if you want to stay on the edge of your seat with more tales like this, remember to hit subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a comment sharing which character's bravery inspired you the most. Your engagement fuels more stories like Nyara's, where justice meets suspense and courage conquers fear. The hills grew quiet again, but the echoes of the night's terror lingered in memory. The lesson remained clear. Appearances deceive, charm can mask darkness, and only those with courage and wisdom can uncover the truth. Igbala Ridge would thrive again, stronger and wiser, because one determined soul refused to be intimidated. One voice refused to stay silent, and one silver whistle reminded the world that even monsters must answer to justice.